Hey everyone, welcome into another episode of No Holds Barred here at the Toronto Sun. Rob Wong and Post Media Wrestling writer Jan Murphy with you. Our guest today is a four-time WWE Women's Champion, one of the most influential wrestlers of all time, and of course a WWE Hall of Famer. It is Lita. Great to speak with you today.
Hey, nice to talk to you guys.
So we're going to react to a video, a recent interview by Lita, where she talks about briefly her final run in WWE. So, sometimes the most interesting wrestling stories are not about championships or comebacks, they're about how things end. Because for legends, endings matter. This week, Lita sat down with, like I said, the Toronto Sun and very calmly, very honestly explained, among other things, why her final WWE run never fully sat right with her. Not angrily, not bitterly, just unfinished. And when you listen closely to what she said, it tells you a lot about how WWE treats nostalgia, how legends measure closure, and why Lita still feels like there might be more to one more chapter left in her career. Oh.
Absolutely. As we sit here today, WWE, of course, coming off the Royal Rumble, we are on that road to WrestleMania. You still got so many friends at WWE, I'm sure that you keep in contact with, but how much of the TV product are you still watching these days?
I like to watch the pay-per-views, and I kind of like to keep it, I'm not the slave to it, where I'm not watching every single thing, so that way when I do check in and see the premium live events, and when I do watch it, I'm excited about it, and I can just kind of root for my friends and also watch it as a fan. So I'll check into the I'll check into the premium live events, and then I check out a Raw. If I find myself sitting at home, I'm like, oh yeah, Raw's on, let's go.
Yeah, she does look so beautiful. Lita, after all these years, she still looks almost the same. She's a little older but a little wiser. She is no longer, if no one understood what she said by there, besides her coming back to WWE a few years back, she also came back being an analyst. So she did interviews, she did reporting backstage, and even was part of some shows, panels. So she was an analyst, and what she's trying to get at is like, when she does watch the product, she's watching once again as a fan, which is probably what she did originally, compared to previous years where she had to analyze the product and be able to give a thought about the product. So now she's just there to enjoy the show.
I know you're from the era that I'm from, because you keep trying to call it the pay-per-view.
House shows, you'll probably hear this sometime this interview as well.
No more house shows in WWE. Barely any.
So I was thinking about it this morning, thinking about this interview. The last time I feel like I sat down with someone of your ilk was many years ago. I interviewed Terry Funk. And at the time, I remember sitting in the moment thinking to myself, my God, I'm interviewing Terry Funk. This is like a trailblazer, an absolute icon of the business. And that's what I feel like right now. The word gets thrown around a lot, but you look back at what you did, no one else had done it before you. To me, that is
facts.
Trailblazing 101. Do you ever, sort of reflect on your place in history of professional wrestling? I'm sure you hear it a lot, but do you realize it?
I don't think I did in the moment. And I think the first time I kind of had a chance to reflect and go, yeah, I did some cool stuff, was when I went into the Hall of Fame. Because, you might have heard people talk about it. We don't have an off season. So you might think for one moment at the end of that match, oh, that was a good match, or that was a cool segment. But you're like, I got to get in the car. Let me try to beat the crowd. I got to get to the next town. And you don't have a lot of time to sit and reflect. And then, you're on to the next thing, So it wasn't until they told me I was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I put a Facebook post and said, hey, what do you guys remember from my career? And there were so many memories. It wasn't like, oh, that one time, and that's what everybody was saying. Everyone's like, well, I know people talk about this. This is my personal memory. And so some of them I would have to go, oh yeah, I haven't even thought about that since it happened.
So I think one of the biggest obvious memories for most will be the Raw main event between her and Trish Stratus, being the first women's main event on a Raw show for the title. That's everyone's go-to. Mine is the fact that she was able to, my earliest memory of her is her being to outperform Say Rios, which was the first person she teamed up with before the Hardys. And she was able to outperform him. She looked better than him, and he was that aerial person just like her. And people were into her more than him, and it became eventually a feud. But as you can see, the way the Office or WWE works, the 24/7 mentality, it's hard to keep talent be able to remember and understand how important they are, or sometimes understand how they are appreciated by everyone else
and everything. And it was really nice, because I think also with the success I was able to have, I also kind of had the Office breathing down my neck, being like, don't go get the big head, don't go thinking you're anything.
Why are these guys so emotionless? Come on, guys. I mean, I shouldn't be talking with my interviews, but
Special. And so it kind of made me be like, even if I would get a larger reaction than I thought it was, I'd be like, well, yeah, that took the whole team, and that wasn't just me. Like, I was really, kind of ingraining myself not to relish and cherish some of the opportunities that I had. And then when it was time to go into the Hall of Fame, I really got this perspective where I almost got to watch my career as a movie and be like, wow, that was some really cool stuff that I pulled off.
And if you could have, at the time, seen present wrestling in the way that women are celebrated and main eventing, could you ever have dreamt that up?
No, and I think if I could have seen that, then I wouldn't have been so like timid in relishing my moments. I would have been like, okay, just like almost hide these things that you're getting to do so that I get to keep doing them. But if I could have seen the bigger picture and where things would head today, I think I would have been like, no, like, give me a moment. Let me be proud of myself for just this moment after pulling something off. And I'm glad I got to have that moment going into the Hall of Fame and be like, just give myself the smallest pat on the back and be like, that was awesome.
It's probably amazing when she came back eventually, she saw the new women's locker room and be amazed that she now sees women main eventing. She even sees diversity in different age groups, sizes, different ethnicities, and even wrestling styles of all the women. She sees, a locker room full of talent at this point, both in the main roster, but even NXT. She did a stint in NXT that I recall. She was part of the broadcast team there. And she probably saw so much potential that was different from the late 90s, early 2000s when she was starting up. How different the situation is. So I'm sure it's like an eye-opener for her nowadays.
So it's been a few years since we've seen you perform in ring. We know that one of your best friends, Trish Stratus, got back in there last year at Elimination Chamber here in Toronto. Is there still a part of you that would want to get back in there, or was your last run in WWE sort of the perfect send-off for you?
Well, I will say, I feel complete. I was really happy to have the singles match with Becky, and then to be able to get in there with Trish and Becky and go against Damage Control. It was pretty awesome, and I feel very satisfied in that. But it was a little weird the way it ended, where, I had this really fun celebratory match at WrestleMania, and then the next thing, thing I know, they're like, by the way, you're just going to be laying on the ground and we don't need you anymore. And I was like,
what
the fuck is wrong with you? That is some dark shit.
What? Why would they do that to her? So yeah, I do recall that eventually she just got attacked, and that's the last we saw of her. It's a weird way to end her time in WWE, but all right.
Okay.
How else would you react to that? Oh, we don't need you anymore. Thank you for being all the work you did and helping the women movement back in the day when we were so mean to women. Here's your Hall of Fame. You're going to get some matches. And by the way, we're just going to give you an injury angle and you don't have to come back anymore. We don't need you anymore.
It felt complete, and then it didn't, just the way things kind of ended. Am I still satisfied with all I've accomplished and even just the stuff I've been able to do post full-time run? Absolutely. But I wouldn't rule it out if the right opportunity came, because I still feel really good, and there's so much talent out there. It's always fun to mix it up with the current roster.
See, at least when it comes to Lita, even though she said it felt complete and then it didn't, it still doesn't feel like it's someone complaining. This is someone just realizing her time here and the whole book of her being in the WWE is closed, just without a final page. But she's just, it is what it is kind of situation, and she's moving forward.
That was sort of my next question. Physically, you did things in your career at that time that were, you know, a lot of very physical, dangerous stuff. I mean, Matt and Jeff, over the years, their bodies have broken down. Bubba and Devon, a lot of people from that era. Amazingly, Rey Mysterio seems to be the guy who will never quit wrestling.
He never
But
will.
physically, you know, how did your body respond to what you put it through for a decade or more?
Yeah, I had times when it was really bothering me. I mean, even while I was actively competing. I remember my lower back, I went in because it was bothering me, and the doctor said, well, when did you break your back? And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, yeah, I've seen.
Wait, what? She discovered she had a broken back and didn't even know when it happened? That's some bravado stuff, right? That's what? Anyway, sorry.
Here on the x-ray, you've broken your back. So at some point I'd broken my back and just kept going, and that might have been why it was hurting me, you know. And I had some issues with that, but I've really prioritized feeling good and having my body feel good in my post full-time career, because I do see so many of my former coworkers and other legends, and
They're looking like crap, some of them. Nothing against them. It's just wrestling takes a body toll, and she's seeing that.
it just reminds me every day, like, what I put my body through. But I will say, like, gosh, like, the regenerative power that your body does have, but, you know, you do have to give it the opportunity to heal, which I have, and, you know, just really prioritize. And I'm so thankful that I do feel good now. I wake up most days feeling awesome, and I'm thankful for it every day.
Oh, and she took a lot of massive falls. She went crazy in the ring, and the fact that she doesn't look like her body's taking a toll, it's freaking amazing. Bless her for being able to move forward without that much of a damage on her.
Yeah, not a lot of people in that industry get to say that, unfortunately,
They wouldn't do this to the Bella Twins, what they wouldn't do to the Bella Twins.
at the end of their career. So that is something to be very grateful for. As I mentioned, you know, Trish earlier, one of your closest friends, and you guys are attached at the hip. You seem to do a lot of events still.
So here they're going to talk about her, obviously her relationship with Trish Stratus, one of her closest rivals, biggest rivals in her era, and also her bestie.
To this day, did you two hit it off from the moment you first met back in those WWF days?
Instantly. Yeah.
Really?
And it's funny. She was definitely,
They look like polar opposites. That's interesting.
I was intimidated by her when I first saw they hired her. I was like, oh my gosh, this goddess, I'm never going to get on TV. I was hired, like, you know, right before her, a couple months before her. And then I saw them announce that they hired her. And I was like, okay, well, I was so close, almost got on TV, you know. And then we met, and we just instantly hit it off. And we always say, to both the fans and ourselves, we're kind of the perfect yin and yang, because we're very different, but we're very similar in a lot of ways. And so we can kind of balance each other out. And from a fan perspective too, if you're not a Lita guy, you're a Trish guy. And then now it's fun for fans to be like, okay, I'm both, you know, like we've been able to separate and come around. But yeah, she's definitely such a special friend. You know, you have friends that you're like, I can share this with, I can share that, you know, but to be able to have had a pretty similar journey timeline wise and everything, and also retiring at the same time, and just,
About a
we
year
just
apart
remained
or so.
so close and talk all the time. And, you know, oftentimes no wrestling subjects come.
I'm a both fan, but I am more of a Lita fan, I have to say. I have to be a little biased. I'm a slight edge over for Lita, just because she was able to do so much more, I feel. But these two were the perfect yin and yang. They had obviously different styles and even presentations in their look, and their outgoing, but they always looked like they had a trust and ambition towards one another. Obviously their rivalry resonated because it was rooted in genuine respect, and they shared the struggle that women had during that time when women's wrestling was still fighting for legitimacy in the early 2000s. Their bond will always be seen that it's something that extended beyond storylines, and fans love that.
What to us, really special to be able to take away that friendship from the business. Like another gift that I got from my career journey.
I've been doing this for almost 30 years. I remember interviewing you and the Hardys in Toronto at different times. But you talk about Trish and you almost unanimously throughout my career, people like Paige, AJ, Bailey, Liv Morgan, the list goes on. Maurice, so many people.
Maurice. Wow, we're using Maurice as an example. Virgo, August Virgo, when your body is your job, there isn't a day there isn't pain. So I can see how Lita missed her broken back. Yeah, facts. Your body's always in pain, and you think it's just pain. The Hurricane is such an impressive and dangerous move, so dangerous that I think it's shelved now. Maybe in WWE.
Or Trish as their influence. And now we have this entire generation, Rhea Ripley as well. We have this entire generation now of these superstars. They are, you saw that, Charlotte Flair. I mean, there's just so many today. That must feel pretty special to have influenced an entire generation that came after you, or two generations.
We're going back to that.
It's two, because now people are saying Charlotte influenced me or Becky influenced me, for people that are making it on the roster now. I saw somebody who was like, oh, Liv is who got me into wrestling and stuff. So it's interesting to see it like removed.
Jay.
To see an entire full of representation. I get asked a lot, who influenced me to get into wrestling. And, you'd mentioned him earlier, Rey Mysterio, and he was wrestling before I even thought about wrestling and is still wrestling. But, I didn't have a lot of women to look for as direct influences. I had plenty of women, in other entertainment venues, singers, and just like, I grew up in punk rock, and so there would be like front people of bands that I would take influence from, but they weren't wrestling. They weren't doing what I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do didn't really exist yet.
She, Trish, and some of the other women wrestlers during that time helped build the blueprint for modern day women wrestlers. And before anyone comes at me about the golden era women wrestlers, they were there. They were just there during their time. They got the matches when they could, and they are influenced on their own right. But when it comes to the way we are now with the women's roster, whether it's here, TNA, and even AEW, it's because of these women at that moment. They helped figure out how to deal with this and how to create that blueprint.
And in the way that I wanted it to. And so to now have an entire locker room full of representation with ages and ethnicities and sizes, and the vast representation out there now, it's pretty awesome. Like, it makes me so happy just to watch.
When it comes to the in-ring stuff, I think, one of the highest compliments a wrestler can receive is when you see a move performed and you instantly connect it with someone. And for you, of course, it's the moonsault. Do you remember the first one you ever did? And how did that end up becoming your finisher of choice?
Yeah, so I was definitely influenced by the lucha libre style of wrestling, and, wanted to emulate and build on the moves that I saw in the ring and lucha matches. And I was, I was training.
By the way, guys, the thing is lagging not because of me, it's because of their video. I think they used Riverside, and some of them had a weak connection.
I was at MCW Maryland Championship, and I'm doing. I said, I want to do that thing where you stand on the top rope and then you do a backflip onto somebody. But my trainer was like, yeah, I can't do that. I don't know how to tell you how to do it. I was like, I think I can do it. And it was like, all right, well, like, do you want me to catch you? Like, what do you want? I go, no, just put a heavy bag. It was like 80 pounds, like a boxing heavy bag. Put it in the middle of the ring I'm going to land on.
Before WWE, she was in the lucha libre scene. She was hanging out in Mexico and all that. So that's part of her big influence as a wrestler.
How do you want me to spot you? I was like, come back. And he was like, okay, hit it. And I was like, yeah. Oh, good. I'm going to do that. And how did you do this? I was like, a lot of holding my breath and crossing my fingers is how I got here.
That's incredible. I mean, you look at some of the stuff that happens today. You guys were taking risks in the 90s and early 2000s that really hadn't been seen. I mean, very different when you talk about ECW. They were always, crazy. I guess that's the best way to describe it. You spent some time there too. Paul Heyman had some time with you, but now you watch them today. These guys doing those, by jumping up 3 ropes and then doing it without their hands, and
Tiffany Stratton. That's who he's talking about. The most beautiful moonsault.
All the rope stuff that happens today. pretty
Crazy.
again, reflective of sort of the stuff that you did early on, and they've just, sort of expanded on it. Do you marvel at the athleticism now versus what maybe was around? You certainly were athletic and the Hardys, but the big muscular or the overweight guys, they're getting replaced by these young athletes today.
Not necessarily true, but go ahead.
Yeah, I remember, you mentioned ECW and how, much they like to push the envelope early on. When I was there for the brief time, they would have a stretcher and e-collar, like a neck collar. And it was right
Lacey Evans did that too. Yes, you're right. You're right about that, Chef Maka. What's going on?
next to the curtains. And it was just leaned up there, like just in case. And it would freak me out. I would see it. I mean, you had to pass
I wasn't a big follower of Lacey Evans, unfortunately. I wasn't a big fan.
literally right inches by it when you would go out through the curtain. And I remember being
She was too much heel for me, I guess.
like I would like have an active, like, I really hope that is there at the end of the night. Like I want no one to go out on that. And I hope that everybody is safe. And I would say it before every show, And I think that, with how far the athleticism has come and the moves that people just do as even like a throwaway, just like a quick high spot, it's almost not absorbed what could go wrong at each and every one, because people are so talented and because they're hitting these moves all the time and just getting right back up and egging the crowd on to cheer and like it's nothing.
A last one for me, Lita. Correct me if I'm wrong, but your first in-ring WrestleMania, WrestleMania 18 in Toronto. I was there as a 16-year-old kid watching you face off against Trish and Jazz. What do you remember about that day, just leading up to it, and the night, of course, when you eventually got out there?
Good WrestleMania, not the best.
I remember it feeling really big. I was really close with Jazz as well. So to probably have the people I was closest, the two people I was closest with in the ring for that match was really special. Jazz really looked out for me. I really bonded with her for the time that we were in ECW, and it took a while, but I really, really pushed and wanted her to be part of the locker room in WWE as well, and to see them utilize her to her strengths that she had in the ring to be, she's not very tall in stature, but she's so powerful. And to be able to get that come across in her character and to have the three of our dynamics, three very different wrestlers out there. So I remember that for sure. And then, of course, I remember us trying to kind of focus up before the match, and the venue was deafening during the Hulk Hogan and Rock match that was going.
That's right. She did have her group did have to compete with the Hulk Hogan Rock match at WrestleMania 18. Hard to follow, or I don't even know. I think they were before them, but people were more waiting for that match, so it's hard to help set up.
On before that, we were like, wow, this is crazy. I would love to be watching this right now, but it's probably better that I just kind of focus and ready to go out there and do my thing.
Full circle moment.
Last one from me. From a fan's perspective, do you think you're remembered more synonymously with the Hardys or with Trish?
It's interesting that you ask if I'm,
Let me know in the comments what do you think she'll be best remembered as? With the Hardys as part of Team Extreme, or Trish, or her rivalry with Trish? Which one do you guys feel will be more remembered by?
More synonymous with the Hardys or Trish, because it's like my look and everything is so part of Team Extreme. And I think that Team Extreme was such a special union that brought so many fans, because we were almost mirroring of the people that were sitting at home watching all the time. The three of us would travel together, and I remember we'd go into gas stations at midnight, after the show, and people would always say, "Are you guys in a band?" And we just kind of had that look like
They were very similar looking. Made it work because they were able to connect to that demographic of fans.
We were. And I also remember when during the Monday Night Wars, you could win a nitro party. Like a wrestler would come to your house and you would hang out. And we've got that all the time. You're like our friends, like us just hanging out and watching. So I think that we have this very relatable quality. And I really treasure that chapter of my career. But then I think because to see where women have gone so far and the representation that there is now, then people harken back to the Trish and Lita rivalry and its lasting impact
Marcus Virgo thinks Lita's rivalry with Trish is going to be more remembered. Lita's rarely brought up with the Hardy Boys, but no one can mention Trish without Lita and vice versa.
So
True.
I do think
Facts.
that, I'll take either one. I'm proud of both of the.
Look at her being biased. She'll be like, I'm with either one. You know it's Lita and Trish.
Associations, but I think in a general, like a larger scale.
It's hilarious that those are the two that they brought up, but they forgot her whole heel run with Edge. Like no one's bringing that up. I think her work as a heel with Edge was a fun thing to watch as well. I mean, it just brought a different side of her that I thought she couldn't do. Because before that, everyone thought she was a face. But then all of a sudden, like that, heel.
Like the importance of Team Extreme and the impact that it had on that generation as well.
Oh, and Kane. Oh, yeah. Lita and Kane. Yo, that's another one. Why are they not bringing this up? What kind of reporters are these?
Great answer. Fantastic.
The two people in my chat talking right now are better off interviewing Lita.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a big impact on us as well as wrestling fans back there in the 90s and early 2000s. It was so great to relive a lot of these memories with you, Lita. Thanks so much for the time.
Well, obviously, she's definitely not campaigning for another run. And she was very nice with the WWE, not criticizing them, even though they gave her such an abrupt ending recently. But she's proud of her work. She's very humble, and she's very grateful for everything she was able to get throughout her career. But it would have been nice she finished her story a strong way. But then again, her coming back didn't need it. I didn't think she needed it at first, but you know how WWE likes bringing their Hall of Famers back for another run, one more run, and then sometimes they ended weird like this one. But anyway, let me know what you guys thought about Lita's interview. Do you think she was too soft in the interview, or she could have gone a little harsher? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you on the next video.